Whenever Future Trunks knocks on the door, it's always for something tragic. Whether it be a warning for future androids, preventing a heart virus, or escaping Goku Black's wrath, Trunks has been universally recognized as a symbol of struggle and hope. And after the erasure of Zamasu in the future timeline, Trunks and Mai decided to live in the future right before Beerus's death so that they could be reunited with their loved ones. But what if Future Trunks and Mai lived in the present timeline? How would this affect the Tournament of Power, and what social impact would this have? Well, it's time for us to figure this out today. But the first question we must answer is, does it make sense for Trunks and Mai to actually stay in the present? Well, originally, because Dragon Ball Super takes place before the end of Z, it would create too many writing inconsistencies to have Trunks and Mai in the present timeline. They had to leave at the end of the Zamasu arc to be consistent with the original events. But when we think about it from a logical point of view, it makes perfect sense for Future Trunks and Mai to stay. The future is already gone. In addition, Trunks wouldn't be the only fighter to protect Earth if an emergency happened, and while Trunks would have a duplicate of himself, that still leaves only 2 people to defend Earth as compared to the present timeline's entire force. And most importantly, creating a new timeline further violates the universal law of time travel, so staying in the present actually makes more sense. So for the trigger event, we are only changing history by having Trunks and Mai choose the logical decision over the emotional one. And the best news is that with Goku, Vegeta, Beerus, and Whis around, Trunks would be far stronger than he was in the Zamasu arc, and we will see how much of a difference this actually makes. To begin, we have the Zeno exhibition match, and for our 3 fighters, it would make sense for Goku to obviously participate as he was directly informed of the exhibition directly. This leaves us 2 spots left. Vegeta originally turned down the opportunity because Bulma was giving birth to Bra, and since Bra is also Future Trunks' sister, he too would want to be there for her birth. However, because Vegeta was the one who told Goku to recruit Gohan, this ultimately led to Majin Buu being recruited, so history would stay the same in the exhibition match with Majin Buu defeating Basil. This now leaves us with the task of determining which 10 warriors would fight in the main Tournament of Power. To begin, for our starting 5 we would have Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Trunks, and Piccolo, also known as the Legacy of Goku 2 team for those of you who still remember that game. Moving on, we would then have the old school ball guys, which would feature Master Roshi, Krillin, and Tien, giving us a total of 8 characters. And to close out our list, we will end with the Android 17 and 18 duo. 17 would only join on the condition that he would get help fighting against animal poachers, and 18 would only join if she gets the prize money. And as you would have noticed, this list leaves out Majin Buu, FRIEZA, and Yamcha. For Majin Buu, since we assume he will fall asleep, like he always does, Tien and Roshi would have been selected to replace him. No offense, Yamcha. Now, hypothetically speaking, our Universe 7 team would be even more overpowered with both Frieza and Trunks. But what we must remember is that Beerus only mentioned Frieza's empire because they were missing a final fighter. No offense, Yamcha number 2. Because of this, Goku came up with the brilliant idea of recruiting a dead Frieza, therefore choosing the villain that hates him the most over his good friend Yamcha. 3 strikes and you're out, buddy. So because of this, Majin Buu, Frieza, and Yamcha wouldn't be recruited. But when we analyzed this 10-man roster, there was one potential problem, and this is, how would Future Trunks feel competing on a team with 17 and 18 when you consider the carnage that they inflicted in his future? Well, the good news is that when we go back to the Zamasu arc, 18 joked with Future Trunks about how he killed her in his timeline, and when you consider the fact that both androids are fighting for the same cause, there should be no major problem with this. In fact, this actually improves the writing for Dragon Ball Super, as it brings the Dark Future timeline to a full circle as everyone fights together. But for now, we must determine the Tournament of Power's outcome, and in order to do this, we must list the major things that Frieza did in the Tournament of Power and see if Trunks could do the same. Coming in at number 1, we have Frieza loaning energy to a depleted Goku. One key example is after Goku lost Ultra Instinct and used the Spirit Bomb against Jiren. Frieza was there to revitalize his energy and give him a fighting chance. And when we consider the fact that Trunks or anybody else could do this, we have no problem replacing this here. Coming in at number 2, we have direct knockouts. And in the Tournament of Power, Frieza directly defeated Kaba, Frost, Jamise, Roselle, and Murichim. And when you consider the fact that Kaba at best is a Super Saiyan 2 and Frost doesn't even have a golden form, this makes it easy for Trunks to defeat all of these characters. But as we move on to number 3, we have team defeats. To start off, Annie Raza was defeated by Universe 7's Beam Clash, so this is just like a plan to eradicate the Saiyans, and Trunks could fulfill what Frieza did here. But when we move on to Dispo, Dispo would actually be a big problem. Remember, Frieza had a very specific energy technique that trapped Dispo's movements so Gohan could fight against him. And since Trunks would be much more hesitant to knock Gohan out of the arena than Frieza would, it would put Trunks in a more difficult situation. But when you look at how Hit and Super Saiyan Blue Goku were able to read Dispo's movements, a much stronger and faster Trunks would be able to do this against Dispo. So Gohan wouldn't need to sacrifice himself if Trunks improves his speed and strength. But what about God of Destruction Toppo? Well, the good news is that Trunks, 17, and Gohan would all be around to fight against Toppo 3 versus 1 instead of 2 versus 1 with just Android 17 and Frieza. And since Trunks would be much stronger this time around, with so much time available to train and learn God Ki and even maximize the Super Saiyan Rage form, Gohan, Trunks, and 17 would take Toppo down without help. This leaves us Jiren for last, and with a 5 versus 1 advantage, even if Jiren took out some of the 5 remaining fighters, one thing is clear: when pushed to the absolute brink, Goku will bring out Ultra Instinct and eventually Mastered Ultra Instinct. But the best news about all of this is that Goku doesn't have to actually defeat Jiren. All he really needs to do is have another teammate survive with him until the very end, and with Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Trunks, and 17 as teammates, this is even easier to do than the original battle. So Universe 7 once again wins the Tournament of Power even easier. But how do these events translate to Dragon Ball Super Broly? Well, it's important to note that Frieza and his empire originally searched for new powerful recruits, and after it was revealed that Vegeta was alive, Frieza and Paragus sought revenge against planet Earth. So if Frieza stayed dead forever, Broly and Paragus would live on Vampa for the rest of their lives. As depressing as that sounds. I mean, could you just imagine drinking bug juice and eating spiders for the rest of your life? Doesn't sound like a great way to go out. As for the Moro arc, Trunks would be there to fight against 7-3 during the first assault against planet Earth. And when Moro decides to invade later on after everyone is much stronger, this only gives Trunks, Gohan, and Piccolo more time to be prepared and grow more powerful. So when Goku and Vegeta eventually come back, Earth would be in much safer hands having Future Trunks around. But for now, it's extremely important that we explain the Future Trunks domino effect, and with Future Trunks living in the present, Vegeta would get stronger because he can now train with Trunks. In addition, Goku would also get stronger because he can train with a stronger Vegeta and Future Trunks. Kid Trunks would grow in power because his future self would inspire him to train, and Goten would get stronger because Goten always does what Kid Trunks does as part of Monkey See, Monkey Do. So Goten would also improve in power as well. And in terms of Gohan, Gohan would improve in the Moro arc because he would have Future Trunks to train with, and this also means that Piccolo would grow stronger because now Piccolo would have both Gohan and Trunks to train with. 7 characters would all improve in strength simply because Future Trunks returned to the present timeline. But now we'll move on to the social impact. And to begin, because Future Trunks and Mai would live in the present timeline, they would have a lot of awkward situations being in the public domain because you would have an older Trunks with blue hair and a younger Trunks with purple hair. Just imagine Bulma trying to explain to her co-workers who Future Trunks is while she also already has a son. And in the case of Mai, you could imagine people looking at Future Mai as either her mother or her older sister. This would drastically improve the amount of comedy and slice of life that Dragon Ball Super could get. Now for Broly and Paragus, if they lived forever on planet Vampa, Paragus would never have been killed by FRIEZA. And I guess you could say that's a good thing, but would you rather die or spend the rest of your life being on planet Vampa?
The choice is yours.
But either way, Broly would be less socially developed without Shilai and Lemo's influence, and Shilai would actually never befriend Lemo. Remember, she only joined the FRIEZA Force because she stole a Galactic Patrol spaceship and used the FRIEZA Force to protect herself from persecution, so if Frieza stays dead, none of these characters would ever meet. Now for the Pilaf gang, with Future Mai living in the present, it makes sense for her to have a big sister role to her old friends, and after experiencing the horrors of the future world, she would definitely influence the gang to stop their naughty childish behavior. Now Kid Trunks is in a unique scenario. He would gain a big brother in himself similar to Tapion from Wrath of the Dragon, and after seeing Future Trunks together with Mai, this would motivate both Kid Trunks and Kid Mai to eventually become a couple, knowing what their destiny held for them in the future world. But surprisingly, Gohan actually wouldn't be affected that much with Future Trunks living in the present. Remember, this Gohan doesn't have a connection with Trunks the way Future Gohan did, and he would focus on his job and his own family more than anything else. In the case of Future Mai, it's not impossible to see her getting pregnant for Future Trunks and having a child for Trunks the way Videl had a child for Gohan. So when we piece everything together, Trunks would live a much more peaceful life. And something that's also awesome is that he would get a chance to meet his sister Bra, something that he could never do in the future timeline. But while we're in the mood for Future Trunks, check out the Future Trunks amusement theory to see how he survived the androids. In addition, you'd also like the Future Trunks secret mission theory to see a plan he had to kill Dr. Gero, or Operation Future Trunks to learn more about his character. And until next time, stay cool and stay safe, my friends.